Hello, welcome to the second edition of the Jake Morgenstein Show. I am your host alongside Adam Young here today. Thank you, Adam, for coming on. Adam is a sport broadcaster for New Mexico State. And yeah,
Thanks for having me, Jake. Appreciate it.
all right, the first question I have for you is what made you really want to get into sport broadcasting and continue the career that you have?
Yeah, so I wanted to do this when I was a little kid. I was in middle school, and I kind of got my start, I guess, announcing the starting lineups at my sister's middle school basketball games when I was in sixth grade. Always wanted to be behind a microphone, and went to school for it in Southern Illinois, and graduated from there. And didn't quite know back in college how competitive this business was, and the trials and tribulations you would go through, some of the ups and downs and the competitiveness of it, but wouldn't trade this career for anything. It's so rewarding, and to get a chance to work in sports really on a daily basis for me. I've always had a full time job in this, whether it be working in minor league baseball and being full time and doing sales and community relations and media relations during the off season, or in my current job where I'm the director of broadcasting for our property. So I have a lot of different responsibilities outside of just the play by play. But this career has blessed me with so many great opportunities and great moments, great games, and it's been a wild ride. I think I tell young broadcasters all the time, if you try to think about what your path's going to be when you're younger, that path never goes in the same line that you thought it would, which is okay. Everybody's career is different. Everybody takes a different path, and you kind of just have to follow that straight line and try to make the best decisions along the way during your career. And it's been an awesome career for me.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what you've done so far in the field?
Yeah, so right now I'm calling seven sports, which I don't think you can do a whole
So
lot more than
it's a
that.
lot.
Yeah, I'm calling seven sports, and I'm doing television and radio. I do all of our content here. So a lot of podcasting, a lot of video series, video interviews. I have a lot of different responsibilities, which is the way I like it. And I do feel like, calling seven different sports and getting that experience is extremely important. I volleyball's probably turned into one of my better sports, and I never would have thought that when I was coming out of college. But the last 3 years, I've been blessed to call the Division II and the Division III volleyball national championships on TV for ESPNU, which has been an awesome experience. And that's something that I never thought would happen when my career started, but you just never know where it's going to take you. So I've done a lot. There's been, a lot of different responsibilities along the way, but especially when you start in minor league baseball early on, you understand the importance of being a team player, never saying no to an opportunity, trying to help the organization, the school, the property, whatever the case is, as much as possible and in as many different areas as possible. So I've never been somebody who just wants to do one or two sports and just do the games and that's all. I've wanted to kind of, take control of everything going on.
So, from a very young age, you were in the big league market. How did working with the Cardinals pregame team help you grow to be a better broadcaster?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's actually why I went to school where I went to school. I went to school at SIU Edwardsville, and whenever I was visiting colleges coming out of high school, I guess during my senior year of high school, they had a campus radio station. They still have it, but they don't have credentials, I don't think, anymore to the pro sports teams. But I walked in the door in their student radio station. They had really good leadership. They had older people as the program director and the GM of the station that had been in the business, and they told me that they had credentials to the St. Louis Cardinals, the St. Louis Rams, and the St. Louis Blues. And they said, just a heads up, whenever you walk in the door here, you'll get a chance to cover those sports right away. And I thought that was absolutely incredible. So I jumped at that opportunity, and it led to one thing that led to another. And then next thing you know, I'm doing helping out with the pregame show on ESPN Radio in St. Louis, and it was an incredible opportunity. So yeah, that was big for me, and it helped me meet a lot of people and get some more opportunities in the business.
So, you already mentioned that you work in seven different sports, which is a lot of different sports. How has working in those sports helped perfect your craft?
Yeah, I think every sport's different. It keeps you on your toes. And I think even going further than that, doing TV and radio, is probably the most challenging part of this, because for folks that don't know, you call the games
Nope.
differently on radio.
I was but whoops, I was going to ask that question next.
Yeah, yeah. On radio, Jake. I mean, they can't see it, so you got to describe everything. But on TV, people can see it, so you have to be less descriptive. You're basically captioning the pictures on the television screen and trying to talk less. So, doing radio on a Friday night and TV on a Saturday is a really challenging switch, and that's taken, I think, a lot of time to get used to and try to perfect as the best I can. So I think that's even more challenging than going sport to sport.
Yeah, New Mexico State is somewhere where you've been working at for a long time.
Hmm.
It's D1 athletics. Is there any other fields that you would want to get into, or do you like calling for D1 athletics versus, like, let's say, professional sports?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think for me, the goal early was to do Major League Baseball. That was the goal
I'm a
early on.
baseball guy.
Yeah, and I am too. And at first, I thought maybe the minor league baseball route to get to a major league team would be the path. And y- people realized early on that it's not like a player. You don't go single A, double A, triple A major leagues. They don't call you up. The path to a big league booth is different for everybody. So, yeah, I think maybe one day calling professional sports, whether it be NBA or Major League Baseball, um, could certainly be enticing. But for me right now, I do like it in collegiate athletics, and everything's changed, right? I mean, the whole landscape of college athletics has changed before our eyes, so it does look different now. But being the voice of a Division I school is a big deal. People sometimes don't leave those jobs for 40 plus years. Only one or two of these come open each year. That's how competitive it is at Division I. And I really do enjoy this, right now. But 15, 20 years down the road, I have no idea where everything leads to.
So yeah, you mentioned obviously the seven sports and the both TV and radio. What are the best advantages that you have to being such a diverse broadcaster?
Versatility is incredibly important, and I think it all goes back to preparation and how you get ready for a game. I have these play-by-play thesaurus sheets that have been used around the country with different broadcasters. It's just a one sheet, and it's all these different ways of describing things that can happen in a basketball game, a volleyball match, a baseball game. For example, I have a play-by-play thesaurus sheet for baseball, and if there's a ground ball hit to third, let's say you're doing the game on radio, you need to say when the fielder grabs the baseball, but there's a lot of different ways to say how they field the baseball, right? I mean, they handle it, they receive it, they spear it, they snag it, they gather. And if you're calling 100 plus games in minor league baseball, let's say, in 100 plus days, a lot of the times the people listening to you are listening every single night, might be family, friends of the players, and the last thing they want to hear is you call a ground ball to third the same way for 100 plus nights, right? So I think varying vocabulary is extremely important. And that's something I've taken a lot of pride in. And I've told young broadcasters, you have to do that. That there's so many different ways you can describe things, and varying vocabulary, and it really helps paint the picture, especially on radio.
What is it like jumping from so many different sports in multiple days? So, like, let's say a volleyball game one day and then a baseball game the next day.
Yeah, crossover season's challenging. The crossover season in collegiate athletics is what we call it in November and in February. So, for example, in November, I still have volleyball going on, I still have football going on, and basketball starting up. And then in February, basketball is starting to wind down, but baseball starting up and softball starting up. So yeah, it's challenging. And I really rely heavily on those thesaurus sheets, because I need to get my mind right for that particular sport. I've never called a ground ball a free throw or anything like that. Nothing crazy, but I think you can get frozen a little bit, maybe a little bit stuck if you're calling a basketball game on a Friday night. The next day you're doing baseball, and there's a high fly ball to left field, and you're trying to describe it as accurate as possible. And, you just got done calling a basketball game the night before. So those thesaurus sheets that I have, and if anybody's listening, I'd be happy to share those with somebody too. But though those are really important for me.
What is it like? So Kenny Albert is one of the top names in the business. What's it
Yeah.
like when he can make positive remarks about you? So, like, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, it's, Kenny's a legend. There's so many people that have helped me in my career, whether it be just listening to my tape, people that I've never met in person. You'd be surprised how many older broadcasters there are out there, and I'm starting to turn into one of those guys that that are willing to help. You know, you might reach out to somebody and they don't respond, fine, but more often than not, when you reach out to somebody that you never met, that you don't know, whether it be through LinkedIn like you did, or if you find an email address and you email them asking for a critique or just advice, it is so important because this business, and the more and more I go into it, this business is more about who you know than what you know in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
There's people that I've never met in person that have been vitally important in my career that have helped me get jobs or helped me get a foot in the door for an interview or things like that. And there's a lot of really good people in this business that got help early on, like myself, that want to pay it forward later on in their careers. And I've taken a lot of pride in helping young broadcasters, whether it be somebody like yourself in high school, somebody in college, somebody out of college. And I just feel like that's really important. If somebody reaches out to you asking for advice, and they show real interest in this, I've always tried to respond and do whatever they ask, whether it be hop on the phone for a phone call or listen to their tape and send them a critique, give them a word of encouragement, because this business is tough. And I mean, it'll beat you down a little bit at times. And I think sometimes people just need a little nudge saying they're going in the right direction, they're on the right path, stay positive. Good things will happen to good people who work hard. And I, for some reason, I don't know, but I feel like that's my responsibility too in this business, is to pay it forward and help younger broadcasters as well.
So you've already kind of mentioned this, how you love Major League Baseball. But what is your sports broadcasting dream?
Well, it's funny you asked that because I was telling somebody recently, when I got in this business, that's the first question you get from everybody. When you tell somebody you're a sports broadcaster, they always ask you, especially early, what's your dream job? And you kind of have to answer some way, shape, or form. I grew up a huge St. Louis Cardinals fan. And I used to always say the first couple of years of my
They're
career when I
playing
was in
good ball
college,
right now.
they are playing good ball. They are playing good ball. And I used to always say to be the voice of the Cardinals. And when I was coming out of college, Mike Shannon was still calling the Cardinals games. I think John Rooney was kind of in the early years of calling the Cardinals games. And um, it's really hard in this business to say one job, because that job may never come open while you're broadcasting. People stay in these jobs for 40 or 50 years. So at one point, I said it again to somebody. I said, be the voice of the St. Louis Cardinals. They said, oh, that's cool. John Rooney's been there forever. Mike Shannon's been there for 50 years. I'm like, yeah. They're like, I wonder if they'll ever leave. And I'm like, I don't know. And at some point, a couple of years in, it clicked. I'm like, you know what? For me, I don't care where it is or what it is. I just want to call big games that matter to people. And wherever that is, wherever it takes me, great. So that's my dream job now. And I'm doing that right now. But obviously, everybody wants to call the biggest games and the ones that matter the most to people. So that's my answer now when people ask me about my dream job.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I completely agree. I just want to make it. I just want someone to be able to hear my voice. And so I always like to cap off these interviews with a quick prediction. And who do you think is going to win the NBA Finals this year?
Oh man, that's I've been watching a little bit. I am not the biggest NBA fan there is. The Thunder is probably a normal pick, right? I'm sure everybody would
Yeah,
probably say that. That's probably not the sexy pick, but I'll go with the Thunder.
that's not a bad pick.
It's not a bad pick. My wife and I watch the NBA more now, and especially in the playoffs. I'm not a huge regular season NBA guy, where if the games aren't
Yeah.
in the regular season, I'll watch Steph Curry if Steph's playing for sure. And there's certain people that I enjoy watching play, but I'm definitely more of a college fan than anything. And with this job, you're always thinking about the next game, so you're really engulfed in this. But I'll go with the Thunder.
Yeah. The players are always switching in college sports.
They
Now
are.
it's and
It's
over
hard to
what
keep track.
2,500 Division One basketball players hit the portal this year or something like that. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
So it's a lot.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track. The game's changed a lot. Retention's really hard for colleges nowadays, and we're just trying to change as much with it. But our men's basketball team had 12 new players last year, and that's kind of the new norm. I mean, it's different year to year, and the game's changing for sure.
Well, thank you so much, Adam, for coming on and speaking with me today. That'll do it for the second edition of the Jake Morgenstein Show, and I'll be back tomorrow for another episode. So thank you so much, Adam, and we'll see you later.